So folks, this is real. Their homes and their families are being targeted too. It's just like we're living in Mexico, but instead of cartels targeting police officers in their homes to do terror, it's now communists. So if you watch my channel, then you know that I have been a police officer for almost 20 years now, and what I want to talk to you about today in this video is something that most people should know about, but they don't know about it, and local media isn't really reporting on it too much, and then also a lot of local governments aren't talking about it, and they're also not really doing much about it either. And what's happening is that insurgents, communist insurgents, Antifa, BLM, and those types, they have been targeting the homes of police officers and the police officers' families pretty violently and pretty regularly over the past couple of months. Now, I'm going to give you a couple of examples of what's been happening, but in just one instance, a police officer's house actually got shot up close to my area just a couple weeks ago. Now, I only know about these incidents because of officer safety bulletins that's been passed back and forth between local police departments, so I'm sure this is actually happening nationwide. And then it's actually probably even worse in other states where there are higher concentration of communist and socialist groups like Antifa and the Black Lives Matter. And yes, I believe that the Black Lives Matter organization is actually a communist Marxist organization. Here's one of the founding members named Patrice Cullors, I think is how her name's pronounced, but she is describing in her own words how she and another founder of the Black Lives Matter organization are trained Marxists.
The criticism is helpful. I also think that it might, I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists.
And if you also go to the Black Lives Matter website, you will see how they actually openly state that they want to disrupt the nuclear family in the USA. And just in case you don't know what that means is that they actually want to do away with a home that has a father and a mother and their children. And I think that we all know what that means. When you do away with the family, then the government has to provide you with everything, which is exactly what every communist wants. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think that everybody at a protest that's holding a BLM sign that they are a communist, but I think that people should definitely know what that organization is actually pushing. Anyways, within the past few weeks, just in my area, several police officers have actually caught people videotaping their homes and even videotaping their children while their children are playing outside. Now, unfortunately, most of the time when the off-duty police officer would see somebody videotaping their home, these suspects would be able to get away before the off-duty cop would be able to catch up to them or even catch their license plate to find out who they were. But I do know of one incident where the person that was videotaping a cop's house was actually caught. And what he stated was that he was recruited by an unknown person online and given that police officer's address and told to go videotape that cop's house. And obviously we know what that is done for, and that is for intelligence for later physical attacks on that police officer's house. At least that's what it's suspected to be for. And to kind of clarify this, a lot of counties across the United States they have the public information database of who owns property. So if you get somebody's name, so you get a police officer's name, then you're able to go to that county that police officer lives in and ask for any addresses, any properties that this person owns, and then you've got this person's address. So then what you do is then you yourself do it, or you send somebody else to do it. Then you go and videotape that officer's house, so you get the layout of his property, what his home looks like, and then also to ensure that he still actually lives there, so at a later time you or somebody else that wants to do the deed can actually do an attack on that officer's house. And there's been many social media posts done by people even calling for the killing of police officers' children so that that cop's child can't grow up to be a police officer themselves. And then another incident that happened again near my area, a police officer actually came out and found somebody trying to cut the brake lines to his family car, which could have killed him and his family had they gotten into that car and drove. And like I mentioned a few minutes ago, again, just a couple weeks ago, not far from my area, unknown people actually drove by and shot up a police officer's home. Now, luckily, nobody in his family was hurt or killed, but now him and his family are having to stay out of town at a relative's house or wherever. So the videotaping of police officers' homes for what is believed to be for later attacks, the cutting of the brake lines of police officers' families' cars, and the shooting of that police officer's house, these have all been done in the past couple of weeks, again, just in my area. And again, it's probably even more widespread and even worse in other areas where there's a higher concentration again of like Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Folks, I really believe that we are living in dangerous times right now. I really don't think that these attacks on police officers are actually in retribution for what these groups feel like are bad police action shootings on minorities. I actually think that these attacks are from insurgents that are trying to take down our governments. Now, if you've watched my channel long enough, you know that I am no conspiracy theorist, but if you think about this, if a group seizes upon the false narrative that cops are actually out killing all the minorities that they can, and then if you whip everybody into a frenzy so that they start rioting and burning down buildings, and then you start getting local governments to start defunding the police and making police morale low, and then you start attacking those police officers' homes, then you'll start having cops actually quit policing, walk off the job, say it's not worth it, go into something else or go someplace else. And then you create total lawlessness. Once you just add all of that up, they're trying to topple our governments so that the people that they want in power can come in. Folks, I've said this before in other videos and I'll say it again. If you live in an area that bows to Antifa and BLM, and if you live in an area that even flirts with the idea of defunding the police, you need to move out now while your property still has value. When these groups get their way, that area is going to be crime-ridden and will be a war zone, and then your property value will be worth nothing of what it is worth now. So folks, this is real. Police officers just aren't being targeted while they're on duty anymore. Their homes and their families are being targeted too. It's just like we're living in Mexico, but instead of cartels targeting police officers in their homes to do terror, it's now communists that are attacking police officers. But on the other hand, while the media would have you believe that the whole country hates police officers right now, actually I have found, personally have seen over the past couple of weeks, couple of months now, that the majority of the people appreciate their local police. I saw a poll that was done that showed that 85% of the US population, again, appreciated their local police. Also, I became a police officer just right after September 11th. And right after September 11th happened, we had a lot of people coming up to us and thanking us for the job that we did in keeping them safe, and which always made me feel guilty because I wasn't one of those cops or firefighters that ran up into the buildings before they collapsed. But now the amount of people that are bringing thank you cards and food and stuff like that to the police department, I have not seen that happening on this level that it is now since September 11th. So while I know the truth, I actually want you to know the truth too. The amount of people that actually hate the police and are trying to target us and our families they are actually a small minority of people. But while they are a small minority of people, they are attacking police officers and their homes and their families. And for anybody that wants to pound down on the keyboard section about how cops are killers and how we're killing minorities and murdering anybody, executing anybody that we can, again, I'm not going to argue with you down in the comment section. Again, like I say every time, just look at the amount of times that police officers are assaulted with deadly weapons every year and compare that to the small number of people that we actually kill every year. And then also do your own research to see how many contacts with the general public that police officers have every year, and compare that to the amount of incidents that actually lead to a use of force every year, and you will have your answer. So why don't you do me a favor and please comment down below. Have you heard about any police officers and their homes being targeted in your area yet? And had you heard yet that the Black Lives Matter organization is actually founded by trained Marxists? And what's your thoughts on these violent protests that are happening across the United States, mostly in the big liberal cities? Do you think these are people that are actually upset about police killings, or do you think they are communist insurgents? And to learn why there is a coming police apocalypse, which will allow these communist insurgents to turn your city into a war zone, then click on the video that should be appearing on the screen just about now to learn that. Anyways, folks, if you made it this far, hey, thank you very much for watching, and I pray that you have a good night.